She was only meant to pretend, the way my dying mom looked at her. I knew something real had already begun. It started with a lie, a harmless one. I thought the kind you tell your overly curious family to survive yet another wedding, where everyone's got questions and no one's got boundaries. Just bring someone this time. Yeah, anyone. My cousin Aiden had laughed over the phone, and for once, I'd panicked. The wedding was in Cornwall, the countryside estate where every room smelled like fresh roses and old secrets. And I didn't want to walk into that place alone again, especially with my mom's illness worsening by the week. When Evie, the girl from my office who always wore beat-up Converse and hummed old Beatles songs while photocopying, agreed to play the role of my girlfriend for the weekend, purely pretend. Strictly platonic, I thought I'd dodged the awkwardness. She said yes with a shrug and a smirk. It'll be fun. I've always wanted to crash a posh wedding, and it was. At first, she wore a borrowed dress that made her look like poetry, held my hand so naturally you'd think we'd been together years, and smiled at my aunties like she'd known them in another life. My mother, frail and soft-spoken from her third round of chemo, watched Evie from across the garden during the reception like she was trying to remember a dream. When she finally spoke to her, I wasn't there. I found them hours later, seated alone on the old stone bench beneath the wisteria. Hands clasped tightly like they'd shared some unspeakable truth. My mom was crying. Evie wiped her tears. I died. Stood frozen behind the hedges, unable to breathe. That night, as everyone danced inside the candlelit barn, Mom called me over. You need to marry her, she said quietly. She's the kind of girl who stays. I laughed awkwardly, reminded her it was all just for show, but she shook her head with that look moms get when they know more than they're saying. The next morning, I asked Evie what they'd talked about. She just smiled and said, Your mom's been through more than anyone realizes. She deserves to know you'll be all right when she's gone. And something about the way she said it made me feel like I already wasn't. I started to see Evie differently after that. Little things, how she always poured my tea before hers, how she held my arm when the ground was muddy, how she knew when to make people laugh and when to stay silent. By the end of the weekend, pretending wasn't pretending anymore. I didn't want her to go. But she pulled away the moment we got back to London. She quit the job 2 days later. No explanation. Just a voicemail saying, don't look for me. This was never supposed to be real. Weeks passed. My mom passed too. Her funeral was small, private, just family. But someone left white gardenias on the grave, her favorite flower. No note. I knew. I searched for Evie after that. Called her friends. Tracked down the charity she used to volunteer at. And finally, one evening outside a secondhand bookshop in Brighton, I saw her. She looked older, sadder. But when she saw me, she smiled like she'd been waiting. Came, she whispered. I asked her why she left. She told me my mom had begged her not to break my heart. Not unless she was ready to stay, really stay. I wasn't then, she said, but I am now, if you'll let me. I took her hand, held it like my mother once did. And under the soft flicker of old street lamps and the scent of sea air, I kissed the girl who started as a lie and became the only real thing I had left.